Hey, what's up, Roxstars? It's Rox coming to you today with the review for Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 5, The Reunion Part 3. Thank God this is Part 3. Ready for it to be over, you guys. Really, they could have kept this last episode. If they could have just cut off Kimmy's part and put it at the end of the last episode, Part 2, I didn't need nothing that came out in this last part, because between Mel sitting there with the stank face and just being mad, period, and Carlos crying, child, I'm just done. Maybe it's time for Carlos to let somebody else host. If you're going to be this close to everything and it affects you this way, maybe we might need somebody else that's maybe just not quite so close to the cast. I mean, I understand, of course, crying about Kimmy's situation, but that whole thing about Mel and Martin, child, we'll talk about it. But thank God it's Part 3. Okay, Love and Marriage DC will be back next week, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, you guys, the review, let's get to it, shall we? So it starts where it ended last week, which was with everybody grilling Destiny. Not everybody, but Carlos and maybe Kimmy giving Destiny a hard time about her not opening up like she should. So in the closing of Destiny's little segment, we find out that she is in love with the guy. He's not there with her today because there were some extenuating circumstances that prohibited him from coming. But next season, I heard when Carlos said, if you get another season, like, we gonna see, but if you get another season, will we meet him? And she says, yes, you'll see more of him then. So I was like, girl, that might have bought you one more season. Maybe just one, though. Because has anybody else met him? She says, well, Stormy and her husband has met him, Lou and Tiffany. I said, oh, the people that don't matter. We'll see. Do you guys want Destiny to come back next season? I mean, I guess I'd be okay with it, child. At this point, why not? Now, Mel and Destiny. Why exactly has you guys' friendship fallen apart the way that it has? And Mel says that, well, Destiny had went on an interview. This child is always something that we say on these interviews or in social media, some shit. Yeah, Destiny had went on an interview, and some things just were not accurate. And for the boundaries that I've set for myself, I'm just kind of slick with it, I'm not about to go back and forth with you, and I'm not about to have a debate with you. You don't even have to agree with my decision. It's okay. This is my life, and I'm going to make the decision that's best for my peace, for my mental health, all of that. Okay, you know how Mel always got to give us this long-ass Martin Luther King speech about her peace. We get it, Mel. Well, Destiny, what do you think about that? Destiny says it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Well, when did it all fall apart for you, Destiny? Destiny says it all fell apart when they was at reunion last season out there in LA, and apparently Mel had the cup to the wall in the hotel so she could hear what Destiny and Letitia were talking about. Okay. And, Destiny was just like, that's basically it. And we weren't even saying nothing bad about her. Like, I want Mel to tell us, what exactly she heard. Well, Destiny, I don't have to tell you what I heard. No, you don't have to tell me what you heard, I guess. But, you just can't continue to sit and play in my face. Well, ain't nobody playing in your face. I don't even talk to you, sweetie. Okay. And Destiny was taken aback by that sweetie comment. I said, oh, but you said that Sweetie was, just fine when you said it to Stormy. Now you understand why Stormy went off. That shit ain't okay in LA, where I'm from. That shit ain't okay in Atlanta. It ain't okay in Huntsville or in Detroit, okay? We already know when you say Sweetie, that shit is off-putting. And you usually are saying it because you're getting smart, but trying to stay a little, tactful in the smartness. So, she was just like, well, I'm talking to you, Sweetie. Or whatever she said, but I was just like, now you see. You tried to pull that shit on during the season, talking about Stormy just overreacted and everybody say Sweetie. We know what Sweetie means, shit. So while Destiny is talking to Carlos, Letitia mumbles under her voice that Mel just needed a storyline. Carlos says, well, what were you guys talking about? And she says, well, actually, I told Destiny that she thought that she needed to reach out to Mel because when they were up there on the stage, Mel looked really sad when the things were coming out about Martell and everything. So that's all that she had said. So she was trying to convince Mel that she actually feels bad for Mel. She feels sad for Mel, And Mel, of course, doesn't believe that. Carlos asked her, and she was just like, no, absolutely not. And Letitia was just like, of course you don't think that, Mel, but at one time I did have love for you. She cared about Mel and Mel's well-being. And it's not her fault that Mel is a dark soul. She was just like, Mel is the perfect example of a devil in sheep's clothing. I was like, it's wolf in sheep's clothing. But we know what you mean. I know you guys like Roxanne. I know you ain't trying to point out some shit as much as you fuck up all the time. I was like, boy, those are pretty strong words. These are the kind of things that you can't come back from. You cannot call me a devil in sheep's clothing and think that we gonna be friends again. Dark soul, evil, any of them kind of things. Yeah, no. Well, Destiny, do you think that Mel has a dark soul? And Destiny says, well, there's a lot of dark things that she does. Oh, do tell. What did she do? Well, when she went on your show and she told everybody that she gave me $6,000 for a light bill. Okay, so they show the clip of when she was on there, and apparently Mel had gone to Destiny's house and there was a very embarrassing cutoff notice on the door. All right. And so Mel was just like, that's all I needed to do. That's all I needed to see. I'm going to help. That's her friend. All right. So how much money did you send her? About $5,000, $6,000. But Destiny's whole thing was Mel was painting out the picture like I was so destitute and broke and that she had to come and save the day. I was like, well, I mean, if she did have to send you $5,000 or $6,000, maybe you didn't have it. It's okay. Listen, everybody already knows that you said you went through financial problems when you got your divorce. Maybe Mel should have never said that. If I'm really your friend, even when we are mad at each other, maybe I won't blast you to that extent, and say, yeah, I gave her $5,000, $6,000 because her lights was about to get cut off or something like that. But so, or maybe I would, because I'm trying to think, like, if I'm really, really pissed, yeah, maybe, yeah, I might be petty enough to tell that, it's you human. But what I'm saying is Destiny ain't like that. Okay. And I understand that it's embarrassing and all. So when Destiny was trying to say that wasn't the case, and Mel was just like, I ain't never said that you was broke. I never said. She was like, but that's what the insinuation was, Mel. Come on now. Mel always just be like, I ain't said it. If it didn't come out my mouth, then it didn't happen. But of course, we know how people may come to their own conclusions. All you have to do is put the idea out there, and then people will come up there with their own conclusions, especially the fans of Love and Marriage Huntsville, honey. Y'all good at putting 2 and 2 together and getting 13. Destiny said that Mel was stopping her business, trying to stop her bag. And Mel was just like, I never said anything to anybody. And she was just like, if you tell somebody that I'm a liar and I'm a snake, who's going to want to do business with me? I guess Mel was like, well, that's what they came up with. I'm just telling them what you are. So then Carlos asked Mel if she felt like Destiny was a little too chummy with Martell, which was an interesting question because I felt like originally they were going in that direction when the season first started. Remember when Martell was having that photo shoot and he was in the bathtub and he didn't have his, his robe wasn't closed or whatever and all of that. I felt like that was the direction that they were going to go originally. And then they hooked the left and made it be about Martell and the other male. Okay, male number one, Melnica, possibly doing something. And then Melnica just disappeared. We ain't seen or heard from Melnica ever since that last episode when she said that they didn't mess around in high school and Martell said that they did. Okay, but I just wonder why they ended up not talking about that anymore, but we're talking about it now at the reunion, and Mel was just like, well, apparently, me and Martell been married 13, 14 years or something, and I didn't even know that they were supposed to be this close. Okay. She just came back in the picture all of a sudden, and so Destiny was like, listen, I don't like this narrative of people trying to think that her and Martell had anything going on. She's met him. She's 15 years old. They went to school together. She moved out of the state. Then when she moved back, then they reconnected, but there's never been anything more than that. She's a single woman. He's married. She ain't trying to be talking to him and stuff like that, even though Mel said that, Destiny be calling him at 1 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And Destiny was just like, what? And Martell was like, huh? This Martell? Yeah, how many Martells are there? We ain't talking about Martell Jr., you know. So, you know, Mel was just like, yes. And Destiny was like, oh, so you mean when you hacked the phone? And, you know what I just thought? What? They did not put in, when Destiny said I could really blow up this whole thing, and Mel said, go on and say it. And then Destiny was going, it's like, really, do you want me to go here? And then Maurice was like, no, don't do that. They ain't even show none of that. They edited all of that out. They edited all of that out. They showed it to us in the clips, and then they edited it out. So I'm wondering if Destiny did blast it, and then they was just like, oh, this is way too much information that the people don't need to know, so we gonna cut it. Interesting. Did you guys notice that? Anyway, that just came into my mind while I'm saying all of this. Anyway, Mel was just like, no, I did not hack his phone, but somebody tried to hack my phone. So, child, then we go on this whole very, tiring conversation about how Martell's phone would ring when people would be trying to call him. And then if he wouldn't answer, then it would bounce over to Mel's phone. And then if Mel don't answer, it goes to the answering service. Okay. And so Martell is saying that Mel is trying to flip it and make it seem like people are trying to call her about Martell when they knew what the damn phone setup was back in the day. I guess they hadn't changed anything yet. So Martell was like, that's all that is. But Mel was just like, I changed my number just a couple of weeks ago and only like 5 people have it. So, Martell and Mel get to arguing and everything. I was cracking up when she said, you can just stay over there with that in them ugly shoes. I was like, why his shoes gotta be ugly, Mel? That Mel was so fucking mad and over it, child. It was so funny. Well, Stormy, what do you think about all of this? Stormy was just like, look, me and Mel, we friends, but we fairly new friends. We ain't been through no shit like what Destiny and Mel have been through. Like, we haven't been there, so I don't really have an opinion on that, because they've been through way more shit than me. Stormy trying to stay clear. I was like, Stormy, they say that y'all ain't talking no more now. What's that about? Anyway, Martell was just like, well, retreat now. Because Mel, you're such a liar, and you're so good at it. I'm not no liar. You the liar. You the one, but thanks for the projection. It is interesting that Mel has a problem with pretty much everybody on the stage, with the exception of a couple of folks. It's just food for thought, you guys. Usually when one person has a problem with everybody, then who's the problem? It's just a question, y'all. Anyway, like I said, Mel don't see it for nobody, really. It's an interesting place to be. I really wonder how she's going to flip this in order to be on the show next season. How are you going to do this if you don't like anybody? I'm just wondering. Now, let's jump over to Mel and Martell and the reason why these two can't seem to get along these days. They did pretty good. We saw they was going to Destin. Everything seemed to work out fairly well there. Why are we back in this bad place? Well, Martell, I just don't want a whole bunch of people watching my children. I don't want no man watching my children, okay? Now, I understand. I can understand that. Martell has 3 daughters and a son, and yes, that's something that you have to be concerned about. However, Martell and Mel are not together any longer, and Martell cannot be dictating what Mel does when she has the children. And you would have to think that Mel has her children's interests, their best interests at heart, and she's not going to put them in a situation where it's dangerous, where something can happen to them. You're just going to have to go on Mel's judgment, okay? But the thing is, Martell don't go on her judgment. He's saying that she got like 24 people watching, and she was just like, the thing is, the only people that my kids spend the night house at is my mothers and my aunties, okay? And apparently the kids spent her brother watched them once overnight at her house, or 2 nights over at her house. And so Carlos asked Martell, did he have a problem with him being gay? Is that the reason why? And he says it has nothing to do with that. But Mel don't even really know her brother like that. Like they didn't meet each other until they were teens. I was just like, still, that's her family, okay? Whether or not they met by then. But Martell, so anyway, Martell got a problem. So he decided to go and change the custody agreement. I guess they had joint custody, and now he's trying to get full custody. And Carlos was like, well, did you have to apply for full custody? And he was like, well, if we can't agree on what we got on the current agreement, then there's no other choice. But the whole thing is, they're not giving Martell full custody of them kids, okay? Because Mel hasn't done anything to show that she shouldn't have custody of her children. I mean, just letting them spend a night over somebody's house, that doesn't mean that she has, that she's putting them in a dangerous situation. It just doesn't. Of course, not going to look at it that way. He's not going to get custody, child. So, anyway, we talk about Destin, how well the trip went. Martell said that he does miss that. And Carlos was like, well, what do you miss? And Martell is just quiet. He won't really say. So this is when Carlos gets emotional. Carlos tells Martell how he's worried about him because he feels like he has to have like this really hard, tough exterior, and he doesn't want to admit that basically he's still in love with Mel and that he misses his family, and that it's okay. But for whatever reason, I was like, it ain't for whatever reason. We already know why he feels that he can't be that way, because motherfuckers on the blog, social media would tear him apart. Okay. And I guess he probably feels like he's been through enough of that. And so he ain't doing that no more. But I mean, everybody knows that Martell still is in love with Mel. All right. He didn't want the divorce. Mel is the one that wanted it. He tried to, keep her in his stable. She broke free, and that's probably one of his biggest regrets, even if he never says it. But, he does say he's taking accountability for all that he's done. He feels bad about what he's done to his family, but I guess he probably feels like, how many times am I going to have to say it? Well, you're going to have to say it as many times as people ask you the question, because you are the reason that the shit fell apart. Okay. Even though Carlos says, I always try to be hard on the men, but I do try to be hard on the women too, because, sometimes the women ain't doing everything that they need to do. Mel, is there anything that you see that maybe you could have done differently? And I was interested to see, because Mel, I just can't really remember a time where Mel just 100% takes accountability for her part in anything falling apart. I know you guys in my comments was like, oh, Roxanne, go watch this or go see this or go read. I was like, I ain't doing all that. I said, put it in the comments. Tell me when Mel has done it, and then we'll go from there. Okay. But, so she said that even though she did listen to Martell, she would listen more. And, look, the whole thing is, I'm sure Martell is the biggest reason, because I'm not saying that Mel was a perfect wife, but he had said back at the beginning that Mel didn't really do anything. He felt like she was still a good wife. She was still doing what she needed to do, and it was just basically him. Okay. Now, of course, over the time, he's now saying that she wasn't doing this, she wasn't doing that. And, then he started trying to say that she was cheating and all of that. But at the very beginning, when all of this shit came out, he said himself, he just did it. He didn't really know why he was cheating. He did it because he could, it was something probably feeding his ego. He got this woman who probably thinks, he floats on air, and instead of like a regular nagging wife at home, and that's the reason why he probably cheated. So he can't now say that it was, a lot of Mel's problem too, because he took responsibility for it, But anyway, listen, the whole thing is these two are not going to ever be able to really heal when they work together on this show. That's a dynamic that they're going to have to really seriously look at, because Mel has gone from being mad to now she's just sort of bitter and just doesn't want to even deal with nothing and nobody on the show. So I was like, how does this move forward? How does this happen that Mel and Martell, I think that Martell feels like he can do it, but there's just way too many triggers for Mel. any little thing that he does or says, if it feels like some shit that he used to do 5-6 years ago when they was together, then she gonna be mad, you know. So it's gonna be hard for her to be on this show and get over it, you know. It's just really gonna be hard. I felt bad when Mel said that she never thought that she would have children with a man that she wouldn't even end up liking. That actually was a very serious statement. I was just like, but that's how it is, you know, when you go through divorce. You get to this point where you just be like, I cannot believe, like, on our wedding day, how happy we was, how, you know, in love we were, how we had this bright outlook on the future and all that. And now it then got to this, like, I'm cussing you out, you cussing me out. We do, like, why is this, you know? So divorce is pretty horrible. But anyway, you guys, that's pretty much it on Mel and Martell. I don't know when the show is going to, if they're coming right back after Love and Marriage DC. I think that everybody could stand just a little bit of a break. And, you know, maybe because I feel like these folks been recording their whole fucking life. Like, they don't get no break. And I guess as the show becomes more and more popular, you know, that's why. But it's just sort of like, y'all need a little time to yourselves. Get yourselves together and come on back fresh for season 6 or 5, whatever the fuck the season is, okay? But anyway, that's that. Moving on. Then we got Tiffany and Lewis, okay? I really could do without this whole segment. Let's see, what was the takeaways on their part? Well, they had a problem with Dr. Frantic. Basically diagnosing them as fake before anything, you know. He didn't know us he didn't know us at all. He didn't know us from jump, you know. He just came in and I was just like, girl, he been watching the show just like everybody else. Stop trying to act like Dr. Frantic didn't sit down with his cola and watch you know, Love and Marriage to know what was going on. But she felt like, and Lewis felt like, you know, Dr. Frantic had just jumped on them, even though the situation was when they went on the getaway, you know, she was going to support Letitia, but then it all turned around to be about them. But anyway, Lewis said, you know, I'm not fake. You know, I'm a man 100%. You know, I was just like, oh, God. Okay, and that was the segue into them telling us that that Tiffany is pregnant, okay? I'm 4 months pregnant. It's a boy. His name is Ace. I was just like, girl, you already been telling us all of that? Okay, so she's very excited. Ace is did she say Ace means peace? I believe that's what she said. So he's going to be the peace within the family and everything. She's still going to be working hard. That's what she do. She's passionate about it. Lewis came to terms on that and he's fine with it. But yeah, they got a brand new, I said, ooh. Child. I always have to remember that Lewis and Tiffany, well, at least Tiffany, she tells us that she's only like 35 or something, because I always look at them and I think that they around my age. So I'll just be like, child, you starting all over. But I mean, 35, that's not really starting over. So I mean, I guess. But anyway, Carlos asked Tiffany, you know, do you have enough room in your life for, you know, to take care of your new baby and your man-child? Talking about Lewis. Oh, I definitely have enough room, you know, for my man-child and my baby, you know. And Lewis says they back on track. I said, well, maybe this baby might buy them one more season too, y'all. We'll see. Do you want Lewis and Tiffany back? So then we move on to Kimmy, okay? And Kimmy, you know, we all think it's commendable that Kimmy is able to stay on the show with, you know, something so serious that she's facing. She says, well, she did have to go through the whole, you know, why me, you know, feeling the victim and all. And then she even contemplated stopping the show because it was a lot, you know, on her mind. She said, but actually between her marriage to Maurice and just actually being on the show, that kept her from giving up, because she probably realizes that a lot of people are watching and, you know, maybe her going through this is going to help other people. You know, it's a responsibility that she feels to the fans, especially the women, especially Black women, because a lot of Black women are diagnosed with breast cancer. A lot of times it's usually, you know, it's too late. And so she's hoping that maybe her going and getting her mammogram and finding out about this and keeping all of that in the show, it will give other women, you know, the inkling to go and get themselves tested and make sure that they check their boobs and things like that. So then this is again when Carlos got emotional, and he was just saying how he's very private, but I'm assuming that his mother has passed from breast cancer in these last few years. And he said that his mom, loved the show and all, but she didn't go to the doctor. And he just he probably feels like maybe if this would have happened, if the times could have been different and his mom would have still been alive to see this, maybe that would have actually helped his mom to go to the doctor to find out earlier and things like that, And so Carlos is saying again that Kimmy, this is a good thing because she is definitely helping a lot of women. And I think that's true too, because I think Kimmy, I still follow on Instagram. I don't follow nobody else. I think I unfollowed everybody else, but Kimmy, I still follow. And, I see in her comments all the time women that are saying, that they went on and because of her, they went and got their mammogram, or they found out, that they had an earlier stage of cancer or whatever. So this definitely does help, but that is a big responsibility too. It's like, I'm sure that Kimmy wants to be able to help everybody, but then Kimmy is still in the middle of trying to help herself. So, but that's probably just her personality, just one of those ones that's always trying to look out for other people too. But Kimmy, girl, take care of yourself first, because you are the one that's definitely going through, or we already know what you going through. She has triple negative cancer. She says that she's going to beat it, which is always good to stay positive. She said she's going to beat it. I think she said she was going to have 20 rounds of chemo. She had 7 left as of the time of the reunion. After that, she's going to have surgery. I'm assuming she's probably going to have a mastectomy. That's an assumption, though. She could be just having an area removed or something, but it sounds like she would have a mastectomy, and then she would have to go through radiation. So she still has a lot of stuff going on. I actually saw a video that she posted on her Instagram yesterday where she actually did go completely bald. So we were able, because apparently people was giving her a hard time about shaving her head. And I was just like, what is the fuck is wrong with people? Folks that aren't in this situation and you're going to lose your hair. I mean, you can't even imagine how disturbing it would be to reach up and grab your hair and then all of it is in your hand. So if this woman felt like she wanted to cut her hair off, why was people giving her a problem like it was too early? It was still going to happen. Let this woman do what she wanted to do anyway. The video showed all of the things that she's been through so far. And I just still really, really hope, that she beats this whole thing. I'm going to be very, very happy when we finally find out that she is cancer free and that, she's moving on with her life, because that cancer is rough. Anyway, I'm going to move on, you guys. That's basically it. Carlos says how proud of them he is of all of them, how they're his problem children, but how everybody needs to continue, getting to it and getting out there and running their businesses and, living their lives and everything. So he thanks them all. And that's basically it. So, interesting reunion. I think the reunion actually was good. I felt like all 3 parts, even though they really could have left us out of this 3rd part, but I still do feel like the show was worth watching. I still feel like Love and Marriage Huntsville is a good show. But we gonna have to figure out what we gonna do about Mel. Like, Mel gonna have to figure out what Mel is gonna do about Mel. Okay? I know people say she's an executive producer and all of that. And I was just like, what that got to do with anything? Okay? A lot of people that are responsible for a show coming together or putting the people on the show, a lot of times they not on the show. Nene ain't on Real Housewives of Atlanta no more. Mariah ain't on Married to Medicine no more. Hell, we done begged and pleaded, almost scraped up our knees trying to get damn Shawnee off of Basketball Wives. It took her to get married to a damn pastor to finally say she was leaving the show, but hell, the show might be leaving the show. Is the show even still on anymore? So it's just sort of like, just because they brought it to doesn't mean that they have to continue on. It's not their show, okay? It might have been their idea, but it's not their show. So, you know, Mel don't necessarily technically have to be on the show, although I would like for Mel to stay on the show because I would like to see if Mel is going to have a love interest. I have a feeling that Mel will never bring her love interest on this show, though. I just feel like she's just sort of like, hell no, because I ain't fixing to be having everybody in my business and shit like that. And then that's going to go against what the whole feeling of this show is. Remember, the show is about love and marriage, you know. So what is Mel gonna do if she's not gonna bring that person on? And, you know, so anyway, we'll see, you guys. Maybe everybody will end up in Atlanta. All right, you guys, let me get off of here. I want to say happy Martin Luther the King Day to everybody. Okay. Because I think I'm not going to post this video until Monday, but I hope you guys all enjoy your day off and, you know, remember the reason why we are off, you know, the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King, and many of the other freedom fighters, you know, who did a lot to help us get to where we are today. Okay. So, yeah, just try to reflect on that a little bit, y'all, as you go on your day. And I'm going to get off of here. Make sure that you thumbs up this video. Comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's Rox. The channel is It's Rox. Everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, Roxstars. Bye.